Again, you started, when did you start Jiu-Jitsu? How old were you at 15?
I was 15, yeah, so 38 years ago.
And you started with your brother?
Started with my older brother at the local Y.
Okay.
So I was probably with Jim Howard for about 4 years. And then Sensei Wade until he retired. And then when Wade retired, I took over the class.
Oh. And you've been doing it for 38 years?
Yeah.
Nice. And what you're teaching today
Today we're teaching a portion of American Combat Jiu-Jitsu, what they call their shutdown. Hands come up, knock your hands down, strike the neck, and then various finishes from that.
Oh, have you ever used Jiu-Jitsu?
Yeah, never had to. Maybe I have. Maybe once or twice. Mostly, though, more often is breaking up fights or stopping things from happening. But as we were talking before, I think a lot of the benefit comes in the awareness that you have of yourself and the situations that you're in, and not putting yourself into situations where you're likely to have to use it. If you walk with an air of confidence, people that are going to attack somebody are looking for an easy target. So if you're walking like you've got a lot of confidence, you can handle yourself, they're not going to pick you. They're going to pick somebody else. They're not paying attention. Got their head buried in their phone or just looks meek.
Problem these days.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's it, Will.
Cool. Yeah, no problem. You're
Short
welcome.
and sweet.
All right.
So what made you start Jiu-Jitsu?
It was a birthday present.
Really? From who?
My in-laws, my brother and his wife. Yes.
Oh, nice.
It was a birthday gift because I've always had I wanted to do it, but I never had that extra push to do it. So I tried it and I stuck with it. I've been with it for over 35 years.
Wow. Maybe have you ever used it in a lifetime?
One time,
Okay.
we were at a social setting, and a lot of times, you know how Jiu-Jitsu is, a lot of it's reaction. So my back was to someone because I was talking, and someone come up and touched me. It was a male come up and touched me and pulled my shoulder, and I turned around. When I did, I broke his nose. And needless to say, he never came back and bothered all the women anymore.
That's good. Very good.
And thank the Lord, I haven't used it since.
Oh, no, what are you teaching today?
What am I teaching?
Yeah.
Budushin Jiu-Jitsu.
Okay, so are you teaching anything in the class today?
Oh yes, I will be teaching combinations in close, locks, strikes,
Nice. Nice.
working with inside the body, adding with locks. Yes.
Okay. Oh, well, I appreciate you giving me the time.
No
That was it. Short and sweet. What made you start Jiu-Jitsu?
Actually, a friend of mine talked me into coming out. I was already a brown belt in Tang Soo Karate. I was 13 at the time, I believe it was, and a friend of my dad was teaching this class, in 83, 84. And he kept picking on me about it, and he said, coming out. I'm like, oh, we're doing a martial art, this and that. And then finally, just by happenstance, one night I went to his class, and honestly, it was one night I was like, wow, this is so much different than the karate, Tang Soo Do. And even if I was young, I realized that, hey, I don't have to stretch out for 4 hours to kick above my head and to defend myself. And young adolescent, and that's kind of where it started. Really, it was just that simple. And I absolutely fell in love with the art, and I believe, to me, and I would disagree with a lot of people, but this art is a true mixed martial art. This is it. Punching, kicking, biting, all that stuff is done through this traditional Japanese Jiu-Jitsu. So I just love it, and it is invaluable, I think, in life.
Totally agree.
100%.
Have you ever used it in your lifetime?
I do. I'm a police officer, so they teach a lot of it, and some of the stuff, they call it Krav Maga. We all know Krav Maga, and I'm probably getting in trouble for saying this, but Krav Maga stole it from us, a lot of the techniques. I taught today the Isotogari with the grab like that. I have done that.
So that's what you taught today in Isotogari?
Isotogari, yeah. Just to show people that Isotogari works on a lot of different applications. Grabs, punches, kicks. I didn't have time for the kick, but I was going to show the defensive kick too. So
That's all good.
yeah,
That's all good, man. That
awesome.
was it. So. Okay, Dave, there's only 2 questions. What made you start Jiu-Jitsu?
That's a really interesting question. I had wrestled in high school, and then in my mid-30s, I had done karate, Shorin-ryu karate for 2 or 3 years. Then we moved. When we got back to this area, I was about 53 years old at the time, and I had acquired a disability that was kind of like the chronic fatigue syndrome, but it wasn't that, it was something else. And I was just tired all the time, could barely get out of bed to go to work, was somewhat disoriented. And this went on for a year or 2, and it turned out to be an internal virus. It's called a megalovirus. They said there was nothing that could be done about it. It would just gradually go away. It did, and in my mid-50s, I started Aikido, Tamiki Aikido, for self-rehabilitation. And I learned that Aikido was an offshoot of Jujitsu. And the more I read and learned about Jujitsu, the more I liked it. So I started taking Jujitsu lessons at the same time that I was taking Aikido lessons. I was ranked in Aikido, but Jiu-Jitsu became my passion at that point. I like it because it combines all kinds of techniques. It's flexible, and I like the fact that it's a grandfather art with a lot of derivatives, judo being one, aikido being another, Brazilian jiu-jitsu being a third, and there are probably a couple of other small offshoots. So I've continued it ever since then. I've been teaching since 1999. So that's 24 years. And I just enjoy every aspect of it. I've turned it, in my own teaching, toward self-defense, practical applications for self-defense. And it lends itself to that very nicely. We practice techniques. We then put them to work in self-defense situations and in randori. We do all kinds of randori. Ground randori, starting on the ground and wrestling. Standing judo randori, where two opponents try to take each other down. We have a version of full randori, which is kind of like MMA. It starts with striking, moves to grappling, moves to the ground. It's also like the kumite that we've done. We do these techniques lightly and slowly at first, and then with repetition we can speed them up and they become faster and smoother.
Nice. So have you ever had to use Jiu-Jitsu in your lifetime?
Once, fleetingly. I was in a Chicago airport, and I was leaving the Chicago airport with O'Hare. There was a long escalator going up about 2 stories. And I got on the escalator, and up ahead of me, was a businessman he was being hassled. I went to help him, and as I was running up, one of the guys on the side of the escalator put his hand in my pocket, and I got his hand and did a Kodagaish, and he fell down the escalator, and the other attacker went up, and that sort of ended it.
Nice.
So I enjoy it, I love it, and I'm going to get to it.
All right. Thank you, Dave. Okay. So, what made you want to start Jiu-Jitsu?
I wanted to start martial arts when I was a kid. I was the slightly overweight kid who ran his mouth a little bit too much.
Oh no.
Got a little ahead of myself, and so I wanted to start martial arts. And I was fortunate to just happen upon a school that had several different programs in it. I started in the karate program, and that was all right. I did a little bit of judo. That was cool too. I liked that. And then I went to the jujitsu class. That was it.
Got hooked.
Yeah, just all of the application and yeah, it was just like, yeah, this is it. This is me. This is the thing. Yeah. So it just reached out and grabbed me.
Yeah, I think it does that for everybody. Mm-hmm. Have you ever used it in your lifetime?
A couple of times, in somewhat minor situations. Once in high school, word got out that I had been training, and some guy wanted some beef, and fortunately it was pretty quick because he grabbed me, and I, like the circle instantly forms in hye school, so the guy's like, all right, man, and I very calmly asked him if he was all done with his hand.
And that was it.
And pretty much at that moment, because I was about to do something like Sensei had just done over here, at that moment one of his friends came bolting into the circle and grabbed him and pulled him off to one side, and his eyes got really big, and he was all apologetic, and he left. So I guess that word had gotten around. But high school. But no, once when I was a little older, it was pretty simple. Somebody a little bit too drunk at a party, just an easy takedown, control them, make sure everybody's cool. But, nothing huge or huge. Fortunately.
Oh, yeah, fortunately you don't have to. I mean,
Yeah.
it's all defense. It should be defense.
Should be all defense. Well, it's been my experience that the more you train, the less it just comes around, because that's just not in your sphere anymore.
It's a lifestyle, I think.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah, and I think what you put out is what you get back, and I think if you've trained yourself, you're going to get to the point where you just get it that violence doesn't serve any purpose.
Yeah.
At least this is my theory. When you sort of get to that point that violence is no longer really, it doesn't enter your sphere anymore, because you're not projecting that, you're not receiving that, however you want to think about it.
You're not young and full of vinegar.
Nope. Yeah, my best defense is just not to be there anymore. I just nope out.
That's good. That's good. So if you were to teach a technique, what is your favorite technique?
Noping out of there. I gotta go. Look at the time. No, I don't know. Favorite technique? My guys will tell me I'm always working on footwork. So if there's any kind of technique, I'm always going to break it down to the footwork and go back to the footwork and then reconstruct it again, so people can build their own techniques. I don't want a robot that looks like me. I want somebody to discover their own Budo. And if I can put it down in the foundations and let them really find it in their own body, I guess that's what I'm really after. It's not like a particular technique, but how do I encourage my people to be able to find it for themselves? It's not me always showing them, well, got to do it this way, got to do it that way. They can feel it in their body, and it becomes part of them rather than this sort of set of techniques.
Right. So, like it. Very cool. Well, that was it.